Today is February the 17th. Have you ever heard the phrase finishing well? Gideon did not finish well. Why? Let's find out together as we study Judges chapter 8. So in Judges chapter 8, after chasing the Midianite army, chapter 8, verse 1, the people of Ephraim asked Gideon, "Why have you treated us this way? Why didn't you send for us when you first went out to fight the Midianites?" And they argued heatedly with Gideon. Later in the book of Judges, when Jephthah is the judge, the Ephraimites do something very similar. But here they come to Gideon, say, "We would have fought with you." Gideon appeased them by saying, "Oh, no, what I've done is small in comparison to what you've done." Verse 4, Gideon then crossed the Jordan River with his 300 men. Now remember, it's his 300 men and the rest of the army that's with him now. And though exhausted, they continued to chase the enemy. When they reached Sukkoth, Gideon asked the leaders of the town, "Please give my warriors some food. They're tired." Verse 6, the officials of Sukkoth replied, "Catch Zebah and Zalmunna first, and then we'll feed your army." Gideon responds by saying, "After the Lord gives me victory over Zebah and Zalmunna, I'll return and I'll tear your flesh with the thorns and briars from the wilderness." They went to a very nearby town. From there, Gideon went up to Peniel and asked again for food. He got the same answer. So he said to the people of Peniel, "After I return to victory, I will tear down this tower." Now verses 10 to verse 17 tells us that Gideon caught Zebah, Zalmunna, and he punished them. He asked the people that you killed, what did they look like? They said, "They look like you." He said, "That's because they're my relatives." And then he killed them. But in verses 15 to 17, we see this. Gideon returned to Sukkoth, said to the leaders, "Here is Zebah and Zalmunna. When we were here before, you taunted me, saying, 'Catch them first, and then we'll feed your exhausted army.'" Gideon took the elders of the town and he taught them a lesson, punishing them with thorns and briars from the wilderness. He also tore down the tower of Peniel and killed all the men in the town. Now the point of this, although Gideon is a judge and he frees these tribes from the oppressing Midianite nomads, Israel is divided. Gideon actually fights against Israel and ends up destroying an Israelite town named Peniel. Israel is divided at this time. That's what the author of the book of Judges wants us to see. But the story doesn't end there. That's bad enough. Verse 22, then the Israelites said to Gideon, "Be our ruler. You and your son and your grandson will be our rulers, for you've rescued us from Midian." Gideon replied, "I won't rule over you, nor will my son. The Lord will rule over you. However, I do have one request. Each of you give me an earring from the plunder you collected from your fallen enemies." Because their enemies were Ishmaelites, they all wore gold earrings, so they had gold in abundance. They each threw one earring into the lot. Gideon then took that gold, and in verse 27, he made a sacred ephod from the gold, and he put it in Ophrah, his hometown. It's hard to know exactly what the ephod was. In the book of Leviticus, the ephod seems to be a breastplate that the priest wore. It's possible that Gideon made himself a breastplate, but also it's possible that he made a statue, an image, a god. He put it up in Ophrah, where he was from, and soon all the Israelites prostituted themselves by worshiping it. It had become a trap for Gideon and his family. We talk about finishing well. There is a tendency after a life of ministry to let things go. We don't want to do that. We want to finish just as strongly as we began. Finish well, whether you're looking at retirement or whether you're looking at the end of a successful ministry. Maybe you've come back from a mission trip, or maybe you've finished a time of teaching. Maybe you've just done something that felt good doing it. Finish well. Don't rest. Don't fall back. Don't stop working. Keep going strong. That is finishing well. I encourage you to like, follow, subscribe, and share this devotional with your friends. If you have questions for us, send them to questions@becomehope.com. Tomorrow, Gideon's grandson rules.